If you've ever felt like something about your location, your environment, or even the energy around you is affecting your life in ways you can't explain, then this episode is for you. Today, I'm chatting with the incredible Julie Goetzinger, an astrocartographer and intuitive guide who's going to break down how understanding your astro map can unlock powerful shifts in your life, from love to wealth to health and to personal growth. Julie shares her personal journey on how astrocartography and intuitive readings have helped people find love and peace, especially her own story of love. Listen in to see how it can transform your life. This episode is brought to you by the How We Get Through community, where real transformation happens. Live events, daily meditations, journal prompts, and deep connections with people who actually get it. So hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss a show. And if you're ready to fully step in, join the How We Get Through community today. The link's in the show notes. Welcome back to How We Get Through, where we heal, we expand, and we get through together. Hello, and welcome back to the How We Get Through podcast. Today we have Julie Goetzinger on the podcast. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, and Julie is an astrocartographer. Okay, guys, I've practiced that. I got it right the first time. And obviously that has to do with astrology. But I'm guessing that you got into this from astrology. Is that correct?
Well, it's funny. I got into it through intuitive readings. My intuitive reader said you need an astrocartographer, and I had no idea what it was. So I really wasn't into astrology that much at all. And then I had a reading, and then I became obsessed with it.
I love it. Oh, like a tarot reading, or what kind of reading?
It was an intuitive reading, just a general intuitive reading with a psychic reader. And I was talking about California. I live in Maryland. And she said, you need to get an astrocartography reading to see if that would be a good move for you. And I was like, what is that? I've never heard of it. So that's how it all started.
Wow. Okay, so then you got a reading.
Yes.
What
Yep.
was that like for you?
It was so amazing. It just confirmed everything I was thinking because I was feeling like I feel stuck here. Like my business stalled. I'm one that makes a lot of effort and I'm used to things going well and I'm very high achieving. So I was like, I got this. Like things are going great. And then all of a sudden everything stopped and it was silent for too long. And I got really scared, started applying for jobs. I've been an entrepreneur for 9 years, but I totally freaked out because I was like, everybody's gone. What's going on? And at the time I felt like I needed, to really clean up my love story as well because I'm divorced. And I was feeling like I gotta do this healing work. And I think I need to go out west to do it. I need to go to California. And so that was what I was thinking. And then my reader said, it looks like all of your lines are in California. Your Venus lines are in California.
No way.
She said that right away. She's like, have you ever considered California? And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly where I felt drawn. And she said, yes, I think that everything will open up for you if you go out there and then you can come back. But I was going through a difficult transit at the time too, which was a Saturn transit. And that's rules, delays, obstacles, things slowing down. And so that on top of living on my Saturn line was really what was going on. And also just my soul wanted to go play, wanted to be free and travel. So it all confirmed that with the astrology.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I
Yeah.
live in California. So
Oh, nice.
so did you end up coming out here?
I did. I did. I went to San Diego and Carlsbad and I stayed there for 3 weeks. Absolutely loved it. And actually, as soon as I landed, I booked my first astrocartography reading because it was a new venture that I just started. And someone booked as soon as I landed. My plane landed on the runway, and someone booked me like that. And the woman's name was Mary. And I'm an intuitive as well. And I heard Mary's going to show you a different way. And I was thinking it was Mother Mary because I work with Mother Mary. And no, this woman's name was Mary. And then the woman that was staying in the house where I was house sitting was also Mary, who became like a best friend to me. It was wild. The whole thing was like very synchronistic. And
Wow.
and I thought I was gonna meet a man out there, and I met Mary. Like Mary became a best friend. I'm like, oh, like you're my love. Like you're one of my
Yes.
loves, right? But it was so funny because I was like, oh, it's you. Like, just a best friend, a best female friend. But when I was out there, everything did open up. Like my business picked up a lot, and I was just in the energy of fun and play and happy the whole time. I had a lot of really cool magical things happen on that trip in those 3 weeks. Yeah.
Wow, I love that. Well, I
Yeah.
think we kinda jumped right into
Yeah,
it, but
yeah, we
if
did.
because but I think you make a good point is that you don't necessarily have to live where your Venus sign or whatever it is. But maybe let's backtrack a little bit of what is astrocartography, and maybe just give some basic things of what that looks like.
Sure. So astrocartography is relocation astrology. So we look at if you relocate, how would things change for you energetically? And what we do is we ask our clients, what are you looking to enhance at this time in your life? Like what feels stuck or stagnant? Let's focus on what's your priority. And so if it's your business, I look at the birth chart first and see what would be a good business for that person? What's their purpose work? How do they give and receive money? And from there, if I see someone has, strong Mercury in their chart, then their Mercury line would be a good place to go to. Maybe they're a teacher, a writer, a speaker. So first we analyze the birth chart to see what would be good for them, to see what planets are supportive, which are more challenging. And then we look at the astrocartography map to see where could be better places for them. And there's no perfect place. So it's not like you're going to go somewhere and it's like everything's going to be perfect. But it's like, what are you focused on at this time in your life? Okay, go in that direction. And like in my case, I didn't have to move there. I was there for 3 weeks. And then my partner is actually here in Maryland. And when I was out on the West Coast, I couldn't stop thinking about him. And I was like, I need to reach out to him. Like, he's my person. And then I came back, we moved in and got engaged.
Oh my god. So it works. Okay, guys?
It works. It totally works. Yeah.
That is amazing. That is
Yeah.
amazing, but I do think, especially lately, I feel I mean, there's been a lot of energy, but, a lot of stuckness has come up for a lot of people in career, in love, and I think even for myself, like, I could see what's gonna happen. Like, I know the possibilities are there, but in this current moment, it just feels like, ugh, like something needs to shift. And I love that there might be a better place for you at a certain time to open you up. That's what I'm hearing happened
Yes.
for you.
Exactly. Exactly. So, and it doesn't need to be long, it doesn't need to be long. And you also don't need to go so far either. There's something called local space where you can look in your local area and see which direction is Venus if you're looking for love, like which direction. Go to a coffee shop in this direction and be open to meeting people. Go to a networking event over here. So you don't have to move or even travel far. You can look in your local area. And that's what I help people see during my readings. Like, let's look locally first because you can start this like tomorrow. You don't need to like pick up your family and go move. You can, but you don't have to. You can play with the energy where you are. And the more you're attuned to it, the more you will notice the energy shift, even just driving around. Now I can feel a shift happen. I feel more expansive near my Jupiter line, which is about expansiveness. And I feel that just driving in my car by myself. I'm like, oh, there it is. There's Jupiter. I can feel it. And then Pluto feels more intense, and there's more shadow work that happens in Pluto. So you might be thinking about things might trigger you. So it's really fun to just play with it locally first. And then if you are looking to move, I would book a professional reading because they can look deeper into all of it for you.
And so for people that haven't seen it before, it's basically like a map of the world, right? And then there's all of these lines. What are the maybe you can explain it better.
Yes, there's all of these planetary lines, and basically local space is more simplified, but it's also not as detailed. Like when you get a professional reading or you have professional software, we have something called parens as well, which are longitudinal lines, and all of the parens impact us too, and there's tons of them. And so what we do as a reader is we tune in. Well, I use my intuition as well. I look at the birth chart and then intuitively, I just ask spirit, like, what would be good for this person? Sometimes I just hear a place. It's random. They'll be like, look at Iowa. And I'm like, Iowa. Like things happen like that because I'm an intuitive. But from a strictly like astrological standpoint, it depends on the birth chart. And so we look at that, and then we look at the astrocartography map. And we will look at like the main lines. Like if somebody wants love, we look at Venus descendant because descendant is other people. So that's like receiving love from others. the ascendant is you. So that's like feeling more in love with yourself, feeling good yourself. I mean, there's tons of lines. And that's why I created a cheat sheet that I'm going to share with your audience too, just to kind of give them the basics, because can be overwhelming when you first look at it. And I felt overwhelmed when I first learned it. It's like a foreign language. It really is like learning a new language.
Yeah, I mean, astrology itself, just the birth chart and the planets and squaring and blah blah blah, like, is
Yeah.
so much. And
Yes.
so, do you know like who created this part or this aspect of
Yeah.
astrology?
Yeah, Carl Lewis is who created, this in the 1970s, so he's the one that created the system that we use, now. And some people have asked me, like, "How do you know that it's real, or how do you know that it works?" People are more scientific. I usually just say, "Test it out yourself," like, and it's fun to look back at your life, like, where did you go to school? Where did you have your first love? So thinking back at your life and then looking at the map to confirm, and it'll blow your mind. Like, when I did that, I was like, "Oh my god," like, I lived on my Mercury line, like, all my schools were on my Mercury line, and I am a speaker, I am a teacher, I'm a writer. So all of that was correct for me, and I was like, "Wow." And then I had a one retreat that, like, all this crazy stuff happened. It was right on my Mars line. Like, my Mars line, like, went through it, and I'm like, had I known that before, I never would have picked that spot for a retreat. Like, we don't want explosive things to happen in the middle of a retreat. But looking back at your life, that's a fun way to confirm that, oh wow, like this is actually like really accurate.
And for example, I'm an Aries rising, so Mars rules my chart, I think. Um, would Mars be better for me or more aligned for me than somebody who doesn't have a strong Mars in their chart as far as that line, or does that not cross over
I
or make sense?
Yeah, you'd have to look at the whole chart together and see
Okay.
what the other planets around are doing as well. And if you look up your birth chart, you'll see these lines. They're blue and red lines. So the easy way to remember it is the blue lines are supportive, the red lines are challenging.
Mm, okay.
So there's squares and trines and conjunction, like all this stuff. But the way I explain it to people is just look for the blue lines. That means they're going to be more supportive. The red lines, there's going to be challenge. And that just means it'll bring out the shadow of that planet, right? Like, because all of the planets had positive and negative, except for Mercury's neutral. But Mars, like the good side of Mars is its passion, drive, ambition. So if you want to get something done, if you're like trying to meet a goal, like go to Mars and like you'll feel that fire. The hard side is it rules accidents and arguments, combative energy. So you don't want to like live on it. You might want to visit it and then get out.
Yeah. Yes. And can I ask what your top
Yeah.
three are for astrology?
My signs,
Rising. Mm-hmm.
I am a Pisces rising, I'm a Gemini sun, and a Leo moon.
Oh, I'm a Leo moon.
Oh, nice.
Yes, a deep one, a
Awesome.
very hidden one,
Awesome. Yeah.
something.
I used to be more hidden, now I'm more outward as a Leo.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
I think that's the growth of it, you know?
Yeah. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So can I talk to you about how you found out you were intuitive? When was that? What did that look like?
I was told by my intuitive that my spirit guides were waiting for me to realize it. Like, it was like, they were kind of like, at the time, I was an elementary school teacher, and I was feeling really frustrated, and I was feeling like I was being told what to teach. I mean, you are as a public school teacher, it's very controlled, and I'm very creative, and I'm a natural leader, and I couldn't express that in that environment, so I was frustrated, and she was saying, "You can do exactly what I'm doing for you right now. You have this gift," and she said, "In fact, you're one of the most gifted psychics I've ever worked with." And I was like, "What?" Like, and I said, "Can you mentor me?" And she said, "No, because you've been doing this for lifetimes. Like, you could mentor me. Like, you are very
Wow.
gifted, and you know this. Like, you can do this, Julie. Like, you just need to start." And I actually signed up for a mediumship course first to connect with the departed. And on day one, I just read the teacher, and she burst into tears, and she said, "No one's given me a message like that from my dad that I've been like waiting to hear my whole life." And she said, "I really hope you practice professionally because there's a lot of people that need your help." And I was like, wow, that was like my first day in class. So then I realized, okay, there's really something to this. Like this is real. Um, and I need to foster this. I need to accept this, and I need to just share when it comes through. And I get messages all random times, and I know now how to weave them into conversation with people, in a
Yeah.
way, you know what I mean? Like doesn't freak
By
them
the
out.
way.
Right, right.
Hmm.
Because sometimes it does happen out of nowhere, and I'll just get a message, and I feel very strongly I need to tell this person something. But usually, like, I'm able to just kind of weave it in or just ask a question. That's my way of just getting people to think. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, I have considered that." And I just say, "Yeah, you might want to look into that." Right? Like,
Yes.
so it's a little more subtle. Um, but with my friends, like I'll just stop them and tell them. Like they're talking about something or complaining about something, and I need to stop you. And I just stop them and just say, "This is what's really going on. Like, do you wanna know what's actually happening here, or you wanna be stuck in your story?"
Yeah.
So
Nice.
I'll just kinda
Yes.
call them out.
Get them moving.
Right,
Can I
exactly.
ask where
Yeah.
that like awakening came where you were in your divorce or your personal life?
Yes. So I was, about to get divorced, and it happened around the same time. When I was an elementary school teacher, and I was very unhappy, and we couldn't afford for me to leave because I didn't have anything else. We had 2 small children, and then I was visited by Metatron. So I was asleep, and I saw this geometric shape when I woke up, and I heard the voice I heard Metatron, and then I looked on our ceiling, and I saw this outline that looked like a transformer, and I was like, "What the heck is happening?" And then I looked up the next morning, Metatron, and my ex-husband's asleep right next to me in bed, and I'm like, "Do you hear anything?" Like, trying to wake him up, and he's, like, dead asleep, like, not even. And then the next morning, I looked it up, and I heard that Metatron visits people, like, as part of a spiritual awakening, and that he works with psychics. And then I saw an angel in my living room, like, I saw a wing, and I said, "Please show more of yourself, because 'cause I'd like to take a picture," and I saw the whole wing and took a picture of it. Um, and then I started like, they were, like, moving things around the house, and it freaked out my ex-husband, like, he was totally freaked, he's Catholic, and said, "Please make it stop, like, what's going on? Like, our house is haunted." And I was like, I feel like Elsa from Frozen, like, I didn't know, like, what to do, like, I knew I had powers, but I didn't know how to control them yet. Um, and I told him, like, "I'm gonna pursue this professionally," and he was not on board with it at all. Like, he just thought, like, "Please don't ever speak about it." And same thing with my family. My family said it was wrong and dangerous, and, so it was a hard time because I knew I had to do it. It was just like a mission. And I did have to stop talking about it to my family and my partner at the time. But then it just kinda took over, like, the business grew really fast, and I was like, "Well, now I'm making a lot of money from this too, like, I need to do this." And then with all the money that came in, I asked for divorce. I said, "I'm ready to go because this is my work, and you're not on board with it, I gotta do this." So
Yeah.
that was when the marriage ended.
And how long
Yeah.
ago was that?
That was, 3 years ago,
Okay.
or 4 years ago that we got separated, but 3 years ago that the divorce was finalized, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And how are your
Mhm.
children, accepting or not accepting your gift? How are they?
They're both gifted. They're both
Oh.
gifted. My daughter is such a light worker, and she is such an angel. Like, she delivers me the most pure messages, and she's also the first to open all the curtains. Like, she's very into natural light. And when she goes inside, she does that. Like, she goes to all the windows, opens all the windows. She cares a lot about light because she's a light worker. Um, Always sees the bright side of everything. Like, she's just very optimistic. And then my son is gifted as well, and he wishes he wasn't.
Oh.
He's like, "Mom, why did you give this to me? This is
Oh.
annoying." He's more bothered by it. But I think he just hasn't learned how to control it yet. And when I try to teach him, he doesn't want to hear it because he just doesn't want to work. My daughter, she's totally accepting of it. Like, she's just like, she knows it's real, like, because she has it too. So yeah, they're and they know, like, I've got crystals everywhere. Like, this is normal for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Is your son like, can he what what is his gift that he's kind of refusing?
He helps I think he helps the departed transition, like people who are like stuck in between. So it's a little more dark, like what his work, and it's more scary. I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen he's seen spirits too. Um, and he knows things about like their death. So I think that he's one that helps them transition. And I was told by an intuitive that he was stuck in a previous life. So now he's coming back to help these souls.
I love
And he
that.
agreed, yeah, he agreed to do it to like assist them into heaven. But they're all pure souls that are trying to get, and so he's like an assistant. But he knows a lot about, what happened. And he's given me details about things that I know are true that I'm like, oh wow, yeah. So I can imagine that must be more. I don't get anything like that. I don't see anything with death. Even with the departed, I don't see anything. I hear loving messages. Like I hear like forgiveness messages. Just they're all very loving, positive messages that people love to receive. So for me, it's not scary or anything like that. It's just like the people always feel better. They always
Yeah.
feel like comforted. Um, so I don't, but I also ask spirit not to show me. I don't want to see them. So I did turn that off. I was like, I don't want you like walking around my room. I can sense when they're around, but I'm better at like setting boundaries. And this is the time when you can come and visit. If I'm doing a reading, of course, come speak through me. But otherwise, like this is my personal time.
Yeah. And I think, it's just so interesting because we want to teach our kids boundaries in all the ways. And like, this is just this added layer of like spirituality where we can empower them to feel in control and to say no when you want to say no. And if he never, wants to do this, then he never does because that's that free will piece. But it is like I think easing them in anyone, right? Like you have to be ready for that. Did you have any intuition about being psychic before
hmm
this?
I I I must have because I'm like, I can't imagine that it just developed when I was
Yeah.
like 30,
Yeah.
right? Like and I've always been an artist, so I think just being a creative and I see the world differently. I've been a photographer, painter, so I've always seen the world like through shapes and colors and things like that. And I did start playing with it through photography. That was about when I was about to get separated. I was playing with, the weather, like, I would ask the sun to move, I would like, birds would come into my scene and, like, pose for me, like, it was like, I would definitely communicate with the animals too and ask them to do things, like, in the photos, and they would. So that's and I started playing with numbers too, like, in sales, I would, like, visualize what sale I wanted, and I would get that same exact number, and I'm like, "Well, this is fun."
Wow.
So I did play with it in sales and in photography. But earlier in my life, I'm sure that I had it and it was probably shut down or like I must have talked about like imaginary friends or whatever. I did play alone a lot as a child. Like I do remember like wanting to play alone and feeling totally content with that. Like I wasn't
Right.
lonely. I
Like
was
maybe
just
you
like
weren't
I
alone.
wanted. Right? I
Yeah.
wasn't alone. I was playing with someone.
Yeah.
Right. But I remember my sister always saying, like, "Why don't you wanna play with me?" But I really just didn't. Like, I wanted to be alone, but I was content. So, I probably was communicating at that time, I'm guessing.
Does any of your other family like have any gifts?
We have artists in the family, but no one else as like me. Like I am the one that's different. And it took me a while to just let go of trying to be accepted for it or having them understand. I'm really just a place where I don't talk about it with them. And I don't feel constrained around it anymore. I just that's just not what we talk about, It's
Right.
but they know I've written a book. They know I'm public online. I'm very much out there now. And they're accepting of it. So that's progress that they accept it. We just don't talk about it. I used to try to give them messages from our departed family, but they didn't want that either.
Oh.
So I was like, well, I'll just keep it for myself because I get it all the time. Like
Yeah.
it's wonderful, but if you don't want to hear from our loved ones, fine. You know, like um but Yeah, so no, there was one person in my family that they used to call, like, the crazy aunt, and I'm like, "She's probably she's probably like me, and she's an artist too." So I'm like, "Yeah," and they said she never married, and poor lady, I'm like
She had a great time. Sounds like she had a great
right,
life.
right, she was like an intuitive artist, like,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, not outwardly, nobody is like me in my family and practicing the way I am.
And your new partner, is he
Mhm.
spiritual at all?
He is spiritual, he's open, and he's very accepting of it, but he like, I was just meditating, he came down and, like, lied next to me, and he said something, I'm like, "Babe, we're meditating right now." We don't talk during meditation, but yeah, he's very supportive of me and what I do, and the business, like, he sends me clients, like, he refers me, he's like, "Julie does birth chart readings," and, he's, like, planting seeds places, so, but I think it's inevitable, like, when you're with someone, it's gonna seep in, like, what I'm doing, and if I feel good, I think the other person will be like, "Oh, what is that? I'll try that maybe." So yeah, I'm expecting
Yeah,
that.
well, I mean, it sounds like that's really important for you to be supported in that way and to be
Yes,
accepted in that way in any relationship. So
very much.
I'm
Yes.
glad you found
Yeah.
that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you do psychic readings as well, intuitive psychic readings, and then birth chart and astro cartography.
Yes.
Yes. Which one's your favorite to do right now?
Ah, I like the astrocartography one with the intuitive reading because I get to do a little bit of everything. And the birth chart is also woven in there. So it's the 90-minute session and it's like a sampler of all of it.
I love that.
And it's also, it gives me permission to go deeper into things, and I always tell them, "I've already done your full report, so you're gonna get all the details of where you should go, or you'll have all this information, but this time is for you for wherever you need to go." So if somebody has emotion come up or they're frustrated in an area, we'll definitely, like, dive deeper into that, and it's more of like a coaching session, intuitive coaching. But also, like, the intuitive readings are super fun because there's no planning. It's totally never know what's gonna happen. And I close my eyes and I just start talking. Like it's like a channeling. And people listen, they don't talk very much. Like it's mostly me talking and I'll ask them questions, but then I just like the spirit speaks through me. And I have no idea how much time has gone by. Like it's just like it's so fun. And I do always set a timer because I could just go on for however long.
Yeah. And
But
that's
I
for
like
90
that.
minutes?
That's a 60-minute session.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
60
still.
minute. Yeah, and then 90-minute, I try to split it up, but it's really dependent on the person, what they need. Sometimes we're like, we've got 30 minutes left and we haven't talked about astrocartography at all. And
Right.
I'm like, well, let's look at your map. Like we haven't like, even looked at this. But again, I always like do the report first. So I make sure they're gonna get the information. And then other people just want to look at the map the whole time. They're like, tell me where to go, and they're like really excited to go on their trip or to move and they really just want to know like as much as possible about that location. So then we do that. So it depends on the person. I can sense when people are really intuitive too, and want to go into that intuitive side. And sometimes people channel with me. We go back and forth together. It's so fun.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love that. That's my favorite when I get another intuitive. I had one that was super fun. Like I was being guided to objects in her room behind her, and I, like, knew, like, where the objects were from and she was, like, confirming for me, and I was like, "Who's in the attic and what?" And she was like, "Oh, that's so and so," because she was intuitive too, and then we, like, tuned into the spirit together, and we were, like, doing it together, and it was so fun! Like, I was like, that was the most fun session, and she was just, like, loving it, like, the whole thing was just fun, you know? And also the people that are excited by astrocartography, they're like, "This is the coolest thing ever, like, I had no idea this existed," and, like, that excitement is really
Yeah.
fun for me to witness because I felt that when I first saw it. I was like, "Oh my god, how did I not know about this?" Like, I was, like, really excited by that.
This is so funny because yesterday I was with my girlfriend and she did some headshots for me and she's like, "B, I need a psychic. Like I need to know where to live." And I said, "You need astrocartography
Yes!
cartographer."
Yes!
But I'll send her your way because
Yes!
she needs an intuitive as well. And she's also intuitive. She just doesn't know it yet.
Nice.
Heather, if you're
Yeah.
listening, tap into that shit. Um, yeah, and I don't know why I'm just like, this is so weird that we're having this right now. Because I do think okay, here's a question. So, because she has a family, what if her chart is really good for her, but maybe not good for her partner or kids? Does that come into play or does that
Mhm. Yeah, we do couples readings, so I can look at both her and her spouse. I have done that, so that would be like a 90-minute session, and we can look at the chart, like a composite chart is what they call it. So you can look at both of them. And we do look for places that would be beneficial for both partners. Um, and also, it's not all like we're not supposed to go places just because they're perfect and fun. Like there's going to be lessons everywhere. So sometimes one partner might be thriving, the other one's gonna really go through something, but they're gonna have massive growth because of it.
got
So,
it?
when people just book a session for themselves and they might be curious about the way how their partner responds, but I think if they feel a strong pull and the partner also is on board with moving there, then the intuition is saying go there because there's something for both of us here. And they might not necessarily need to confirm it with astrocartography. They could if they did a couples reading, but I think that I always say the intuition always knows best. And it doesn't always guide us to like, sunshine and roses. Like sometimes it takes us into the depths of hell.
Mhm, yes, yes. Here's your next lesson.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's gonna love it. She needs it
Nice.
bad, so
Awesome.
mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are people coming to you for? Are they coming for a lot of love or career? Does that feel like the main 2?
Mhm. Yeah, that's the main 2, love and money. Everybody wants love, everybody wants money. And sometimes people have health conditions and, I'm not a medical intuitive, but sometimes I do get information around the cause of things, emotional causes, and spirit will also tell me how to clear things from the body. So I'll get like hand motions or even like I can feel into like doctor choices, like they're trying to pick 2 doctors. I can feel into the energy of the names of the people. And I can also like just sense a stronger pull towards one or the other. So that's like the psychic sense coming in. But I don't focus on health, but I always say, like, if you want to improve your life, like, look at your body first. Like, what are you eating? Are you exercising? Like, what thoughts are you thinking? So for me, like, health always comes number one. Like, if things aren't going well, like, take care of your body. Like, that should come first. And things will improve if you're taking better care of yourself physically. I definitely believe that. But generally, people come to me for love or money. Like, those are the 2 main things, and usually they want but usually it's both.
Both, yeah. 2 for 1. Yeah.
Right, 2 for 1. Yeah, let's talk about both. Yeah.
In the astrocartography, what line would you look at for health? Is that
Health would be I would think the sun line, like, sun is, like, more vitality and just feeling better, and when we feel better, our body responds to us feeling better like, internally. So I would say the sun, and then there can also be, like, health, like, the 6th house can give an indication around health challenges or things that might support your health, so in the birth chart, we can see that. You could also see like more challenging transits coming through. So after people do their first reading, then they can do a timing reading, and that's when I can look at transit. So I can see what's happening in that location, like to the day. It's so cool. Like we can go day by day and see exactly what's happening. That's really fun. Um, but yeah, so that's in general. Yeah, and I think when we feel better ourselves, our health just naturally improves. So I think of the sun with that, like follow the sun. You're gonna feel better when your external body will respond to you feeling better.
mhm. And can you talk a little bit about transits and what they are and how, like, kinda break that down for people that haven't heard that before?
Mhm. Yeah, so your astrocartography map is based on your birth location. So those lines that are projected out they're always going to stay the same. Um, and then if you have a transit, that just means that like transits are things like transiting through, like so they're moving through. So when we click like activate chart, you'll see all these lines like moving through. And that's just like, so we click on it. So we do one day at a time, and you click on it and you see there's a little description that says exactly what that transit is. So it's like planets combined together that cause a certain energy. And I read into it intuitively, like, would this be good for this person or not? Would this benefit them based on what they're looking to enhance in their life or not? Would this challenge them? Because the software will give you a general explanation, but then I always think about, okay, this person and what their goals are. How would it impact them? So that's how I think of transits. So usually, like, they can impact you even more than your astrocartography lines. Like, we look at the astrocartography lines first, but then, like, I had my Saturn transit on my Saturn line, so that was really intense, and that was just, like, being stuck in the mud, like, I was, like, running in place and efforting a lot, and nothing was happening, and I was like, "This is horrible." And then I was like, "I'm gonna stop running, and I'm just gonna go to California for a little bit, go to the beach, chill out in the sun," and then things open up.
That stuckness place. Yeah, that's so interesting. I even think about, my family, like, growing up, like, we moved a lot. I mean, my parents were divorced, so we had to do that, but I even in the, like, rearranging of my kids' rooms or other things, I'm like, I feel like, "Okay, let's let's mix this up. I need a change of scenery," even again, if you can't move somewhere. But I do think it's important to kind of listen to that energy that you're in now. And does this room need to be rearranged, or do you need to move somewhere else? And sometimes that can be really scary too, right? Or even just to visit somewhere else. But it's like, I guess, how can you connect to like your intuitive part or your awareness, knowing that you're being called to be somewhere else for a second?
I think it's sometimes people need pain in order to make a change. So it's like if it doesn't hurt enough, if it's not hard enough, they'll just stay. But I loved your suggestion about moving things around. Like, that's like feng shui, right? Like changing the flow of the space, decluttering, getting rid of things that are broken. I wrote about all this in my book, like changing the energy by decluttering.
Ooh,
And I started with, like, the body, so, like, decluttering the body, fasting, cleaning out what you're eating, you're drinking, and then we go to the home, and then we look at relationships. So, like, decluttering all areas of life. So everyone can do that exactly where you live. And I also did that a lot as a child, like, move my furniture around my room all the time. Like, I was very into that. I didn't know why. But now I realize, and I am into feng shui as well. I got into feng shui after I moved back to Maryland. And as soon as I moved in with my partner, I feng shuied his house. Like, that was the first thing we did. Like, he's
yes.
like, "What are all these weights on the floor here and these like crystals?" And like, he's like, "What is this? Are you gonna work out in here?" I'm like, "No, just leave it. It needs to be there. It's grounding." Like,
Yes. It's grounding the energy.
it's
Okay.
counting the energy. We need a mountain here. And like, I'm like moving furniture up the stairs by myself. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm
Uh,
like, "Don't worry about it. Like, I got this." Like,
yeah.
it's like, but I love that as a suggestion first. And a lot of people, it's like, if you have an astrocartography reading, I'm not going to say like, "Oh my God, you need to move." Like, where you are is horrible. Like, you'll know, like, it's horrible. Like you're coming because it's horrible.
Right.
Right? Like, so you're not gonna just suddenly get that news. It's the same thing with, like, relationships, and people are like, "Should I stay with this person?" Or I used to get that question. People don't really ask me that anymore. Maybe energetically, I just don't want to do that with people because 'cause I'm like, free will, like, I would never tell anybody to leave someone or anything like that. Um, but I really don't even get that question anymore. But I really think, as far as, like, the intuition knows and it gets louder, and I think people seek readings as confirmation. Like,
Yeah.
that's really what it's about. It's like permission sometimes, permission, confirmation, and it's fun once you get that confirmation because you're like, "Yeah, okay, it's go time. Like, this person said it, I'm feeling it. This must be true. Let's do it."
Yeah, I do think we need that extra oomph from the universe of like, is my intuition right? Because sometimes these choices are big and they're not small, and you have to take a leap. And that's always scary or exhilarating, depending on where you fall on that.
Right. Exactly.
Can you look at a chart and see where someone would live like in their life? Like, is it kind of future casting, or are you saying no, it's more of a, just like, this is where you would reside or feel the most at during these transits?
Yeah, it's not future casting. So astrocartography and psychics are not related really. Like, it's very separate. It's actually very scientific. of a practice, and it's very analytical. So for me, like I'm totally in my mind when I'm reading astrocartography, and then I have to consciously be like, okay, now we're doing the intuitive work because they are very different. It's not like a psychic tool at all. It's very like matter of fact, like this means this, you have to like study the meanings of everything. So no, I can't see where someone is going to live. You could look at a transit and predict, like you might meet your partner here at this time based on these lines. Like North Node is destiny. So if you have like North Node and Venus descendant, you might meet your destined love partner, or one of them. We have more
Right.
than one,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's not like there's one person, but like you're going to meet a destined partner. Could be a business partner, could be a best friend, could whatever. It's a love connection of some kind. So we can predict like that, but we usually, I ask the people, where are you feeling called to? And then I look at the whole map, use my mind to decide based on the symbols. And then I use my intuition and I say, okay, what else do I need to know here about this person? And then when the reading is actually happening, I can feel into the energy of the person more. And then we can go deeper and I can sense where they're called and where they're not. I'm like, okay, let's look more here because I can tell you're more into this, because a lot of people don't really know. They're just like, I mean, they're different levels of intuitive, but sometimes they're like, "Oh, this might be fun to live here, or I'll visit here." And then we look at the map and it's like, "Ooh."
Yeah. Yes.
Like, "Are you sure?"
That's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
After college, I
Yeah.
lived and traveled in New Zealand for a year
Oh,
and
cool.
went to Australia, and I did it with a college friend of mine. And I mean, that was just like the best year and the hardest year. And so I'm just so curious of where that is on if Pluto was fucking around there.
Sure.
Because it was like just the depths of everything, and I also, like, met a boyfriend there, but then obviously we didn't work out. So it's just I like that idea of earlier what you talked about, like, looking back on your life where you've had these, like, kind of major moments or if you went away for school or, took a job somewhere and if it felt good or not. Because I have some clients too, they're like, "Oh, yeah, like, I lived in New York, and that was so good and also kinda scary, but it felt so great." And so you kinda don't realize like, yes, it's might be the energy is actually different in that place, but where that lies for you, I think is just so interesting and can be another form of reference for you of like, yeah, you fucking thrived there.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah, it's so fun, and the parents show so specifically, like, what could have happened there. So, I usually tell people not to tell me a lot and, like, to let me read it, and then they confirm it for me because that helps them see too that it's real. Like, I know it's real, but a lot of people don't know yet. So, I will say, like, "Did something happen here? Did you meet?" And they're like, "Yes! Oh my god!" Like, and then that's, like, really fun, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Okay, cool, let's move on," but it's fun to, like, get that confirmation. And a lot of times the clients will start to see it themselves because I tell them what things mean. And I like to do a little bit of teaching during my readings too. Like I'll say what things are. I don't just tell them, like I explain why. And then they start to get it and they're like, "Oh, well this over here and this goes up here." And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go up to Spain and let's look at this." And they're like, "Oh my god, that happened here." And it's really fun to like discover it together. It's a fun tool.
Yeah. Can you even look at so again, if you can't travel somewhere, but say you're, like, in Middle America, but you really thrive at the beach, is there, like, things you can do in your, like, decor or things that you surround
Absolutely.
yourself with?
Yeah, so we can bring in the energy of ocean, by listening to a sound machine, by putting up a picture of an ocean. This reminds me of feng shui, that you can bring the elements into your space without going there. If you have like a great line out in Spain, you could, bring Spanish elements into your home. You could learn Spanish. You could, like, so we can incorporate the elements that are beneficial for us without having to even go there. And sometimes something that's cool is like your love partner might be from there, but they live somewhere else now. So maybe they are Spanish, but they live in, Ohio or something. So, but you could have like those lines out in Spain, and then but you met him in Ohio, and it's like, oh, but he's from there, or he grew up there, or some kind of connection is really fun to discover that too.
Mhm. Is there any that you've seen in your work, past lives related to your current graph?
I have not gotten that connection.
Yeah.
I get that with intuitive readings, especially when people talk about purpose. I can see what they've done before. And I also can project forward and I always see like stars. Like I attract people who are stars. So they're on stage or they're writing a book or they're doing something in the public eye. And I see that and I see them doing it and I get like colors and branding and that's really fun. The past lives things, yeah, that comes up during intuitive readings, but not so much during astrocartography readings, no.
Like you thrive in Spain and maybe because you had a past life in Spain is what I was thinking.
Right.
I don't know.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. That I'm sure that's why, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've been there before. Totally. Yeah.
Right. Or if they
Are
have
you
like
a
a deep.
Spanish man in the past, right? Like,
Yes, yes,
it's
exactly.
yeah.
Or Egypt. You were
Mm.
hanging out with ISIS,
Right,
hanging out,
yeah.
whatever. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love
Yeah.
it. Okay, so you have your intuitive readings and then also the birth chart and astrocartography.
Yes.
What has been the most exciting thing that you've received from a psychic reading? What has been like lately? What has lit you up?
That I received for somebody else's
Yeah.
psychic reading? Whew, it's so much fun when people go on the adventure. Like,
Mm,
I've
they're
gotten
open.
people oh god, yeah, they're like, "I'm doing it, I'm putting all my stuff in storage, like, I'm ready," and they give me updates, like, along the journey. Like, I had one client that I just felt so compelled to stay in touch with, and I loved her energy, I love everything about her. And I said, like, "Can we stay in touch over, like, voice app? Like, tell me what's going on." Because she is so bold and she's an intimacy coach. So she's, really cool. She's
I love
great
that.
work. And she's very open, and I follow her. Like, I'm like, I want to be a part of your journey. I want to hear updates. And she's gone through some huge tower moments, like just not knowing where she's gonna live tomorrow kind of thing. And it's fun for me to witness because I just did the same thing. I just did a 6-month journey myself, and now she's going on that journey. So it's really exciting for me, the people that are just like all in, like, let's go on the adventure. And I had another client that we had one intuitive reading. She quit her job and divorced her husband. And I was like, I'm like, I didn't tell you to do either of those things. Like, what are you like? And she was so excited. She's like, guess what I did? Like, I'm totally free. And I'm like, what's your plan? Like, it totally freaks me out. I'm like, did I say any like what?
What?
And
Yeah.
and then the funny thing about her too, we became very good friends, and she's actually someone I'm about to hire to help me with my business. So she helps with like, clients and things.
I love that.
And but she did that too. Like she was just like, I'm ready. Like so I love the people that are just like all in committed. They're not like, I'm planning a trip next summer. Maybe I'll go. And I'm like, that's cool. But like it's not as fun as people who are like, let's go
Let's go.
adventuring. Like, let's just learn about ourselves and whatever happens, happens. Those are the people that are super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me. We'll have a good time. Be like, "Where are we going? Where are we going?" I'm going to Ibiza,
Oh,
whatever,
wow. Yeah.
next summer with a bunch of my college friends because 'cause we're all
Oh,
turning
fun.
40. So it's like our 40 trip, and I'm, like, so excited, and I'm just but I'm like, I can look at all these places, just see where our line is and see
Yes.
what trouble am I going to get into is what I'm looking at.
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
Um,
totally.
I'm excited.
Totally. And I love the way, I follow, an astrologer named Chris Witecki, and he talks about, like, astrology is like a weather report. So it's not to scare anyone, it's not to be like, "This is going to happen and that you should be scared." It's like a weather report. So it's like, "It's likely to rain today. You might wanna bring your raincoat." But
Exactly.
it's really, like, not meant to, like, freak anybody out or be like, "Oh, I shouldn't go there. Oh my god." Like, like, I didn't there's a reason why I didn't know about astrocartography before I hosted a retreat in Denver, because I was supposed to experience everything I did, and it cleared away someone who needed to leave my life, so it was like a clearing that had to happen, and Mars took care of it.
Yeah. Yes, yes. Thank you, Mars.
Let's
Yeah.
blow it up,
Uh-huh.
like,
I love it.
volcano. So,
Well,
yeah.
I would love to know if you have any messages for the collective or that you've kind of maybe not like you need to channel right now, but that you've seen and anything you want us to know or where we Need to
Well,
love each other more.
I'm definitely drawn to your background. Like I want to talk about that because I feel drawn to the flowers behind you. And I am gonna tune in for a second and see if there's anything about that because so bloom where you were planted. So that's what that feels like to me. Bloom where you were planted. Oh, I love that. Bloom where you were planted. So it's not about chasing after like the next like distraction or adventure. Like you don't need to chase, like bloom where you are planted. So you can thrive anywhere. And the analogy that I got was like being a tree and being like really rooted where you are, and then your branches extend out. So the branches can touch different parts of the universe or different experiences, like reach out to them, but can still be rooted and grounded. So that's the analogy that spirit gave me because I was very much an energy of like, woo, like driving around and like, yay, it is fun. And you can't do that forever. So it's like bloom where you are planted. You can thrive anywhere. There is no wrong place. There's no perfect place. Wherever you are is perfect. Right where I am is perfect. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I'm right on time. There's nothing missing. There's no one missing. Like everything is all exactly as it should be right now. So I love like right here, right now, I have everything I need and more is always coming. Right here and now, I have everything I need and more is always coming. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm very timing for my life right now. So cute.
Oh, yes.
Julie, this has been so good. I didn't know that you were so intuitive. And so like this has like been such a treat. I'm like, tell me everything. Tell me about Metatron. Tell me about the angels. Julie, where can
Yeah.
people find you and get in contact with you?
So Facebook, I'm Julie Goetzinger Coaching. Also Instagram, same thing. And I have an Absolutely Abundant YouTube channel called Absolutely Abundant. And then my website is just my name, juliegetzinger.com.
Perfect. And then the link, so you have a link for a free cheat
Yes,
sheet.
a free cheat sheet so people can start looking at their astrocartography map and start playing around traveling locally. So I'll tell you what all the lines mean and how they can enhance your life. So it tells you which direction to go in. So you don't need to pick up and move. You can start looking at where you are right now and see like, oh, I might want to go to a coffee shop over here or do some work at the library. Maybe I'll go here and see if I meet someone tonight. So just kind of play with it for fun.
Love it. Awesome. And we'll put all that in the show notes. So, Julie, thank you so much for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much for listening to our show. If you are loving what you're hearing, give us a review up on Apple Podcasts as it helps our show grow. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.